BestBookBits.com presents 50 Words to Your Dreams, Chapter 37, Failure. Do you want to know how to manifest your dreams? Do you want to know the simple, straightforward, no bullshit path to take your dream out of your head into reality? The 50-chapter video series titled 50 Words to Your Dreams has the answers. Researched for over 10 years and compiled into video, written and audio format for easy consumption, this series will empower you with the know-how and tools you need to manifest your dreams into reality. Created by myself, the creator of the world's largest free book summary website, bestbookbits.com, this series has a wealth of knowledge condensed down into 50 bite-sized pieces. So without further ado, I bring you chapter 37 of 50 of the series, 50 Words to Your Dreams, Failure. The definition of failure is not only the lack of success, but the neglect or omission of expected or required action, which in short, failure is the lack of taking correct actions to achieve your goals and success you aim for. Remember, your success is the definition you give it based on the outcomes and goals you want to achieve. The word failure carries so much negative connotations that people fail to realize that success is built upon a path of failures. Let me explain. In course of living and life in general, you will meet with so-called failure. I name this so-called failure because in life there is no such thing as failure, only results. If your goal was to lose 12 kilos in 12 months, but you only lost 10 kilos, are you a failure or a success? I'll let you answer that one. All I can say is that if you lose 10 kilos, you would feel and look better than you did carrying around those extra kilos. Get the idea out of your head that there is such a thing called failure. The only thing that exists is results. Jim Rohn says it best, results are the name of the game. At the end of the week, the month, the year, you look back on the results you produced. The only time you fail at something you were aiming for is when you stop taking action towards its attainment. The way to success is simple math. Keep moving forward, taking small actions, continually adjusting as you go, not stopping until you hit your goal. Failure is a school. Failure is a great school. You learn from failures. You evolve from failures. You readjust your actions, your time frames, your thinking, and your commitment. You don't quit when failures happen, you regroup and start again more intelligently. Not achieving your goals by your deadlines does not mean success is not within reach. It just means A, you incorrectly calculated the amount of work that would be required. B, you incorrectly calculated the amount of time would be required to achieve your goal. Two things you can control, your action and your time perspective. Live and learn from failure. Have patience, work hard, never give up, and one day in the future, you will achieve your goals and your dreams. Success takes time and effort, and many times you will fail before you are successful. The difference between success and failure is your reaction to it. It is not always reaching the destination, but the journey that is taken to get there. The biggest successes have gone through the biggest failures. Learn the gift of failure from the greats. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times when trying to create the light bulb. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Elvis Presley's first recording went nowhere. He was told he couldn't sing and was going nowhere. Michael Jordan once didn't make his high school varsity basketball team and famously quoted, "I've missed 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Vincent van Gogh sold only one painting while alive and died a failure. Stephen King was rejected 30 times for his manuscript of Carrie before his wife pushed him to try one more time. Abraham Lincoln failed forward by failing in business, having his sweetheart die, having a nervous breakdown, defeated as a speaker, and deferred for nomination for Congress, defeated for US Senate twice, all before becoming the president. J.K. Rowling was a divorced mother, living on welfare, overcoming depression and lost while writing the first Harry Potter book. Colonel Sanders was 65 years old and rejected 1,009 times before his idea was accepted. Dr. Seuss' first manuscript was famously rejected 28 times prior to being accepted. By the time he died, he has sold 600 million copies of his books, making him by far one of the most famous failures to have ever lived. Quotes on failure. A failure is a man who has blundered but is not able to cash in on the experience. A life spent making mistakes is not only more honourable but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. A negative mental attitude is one of the primary causes of failure. A person who never makes mistakes usually makes hardly anything else. A step in the wrong direction is better than staying on the spot all your life. Act as though it was impossible to fail. Action without thinking is the cause of every failure. And the trouble is, if you don't risk anything, you risk even more. Be willing to fail in public and you've jumped the hurdle holding most people back. Be willing to risk failure in order to succeed. Behind every successful person, there's a lot of unsuccessful years. Cultivate your desire for success to be greater than the fear of failure. Failure is merely a pit stop between where you stand and success. Failure allows you to learn the fastest. Failure inspires winners and defeats losers. Defeat is a state of mind. No one is ever defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality. Defeat is not the worst of failures. Not to have tried is true failure. Discouragement and failure are the two of the surest stepping stones to success. Do not be embarrassed by your failures. Learn from them and start again. Don't dwell on what went wrong. Instead, focus on what to do next. Spend your energies on moving forward toward finding the answer. Don't let a mistake depress or discourage you. See a mistake as a road to a solution. Realize that depression and discouragement are negatives that limit the future. Admit the mistake. Admitting the mistakes takes courage, but the recognition of errors is a sign of maturity. Don't let failure bully you. Seduce success because you're so much closer than you think. Don't worry about failure. One big victory will outweigh thousands of failures. Every failure will teach you a lesson that you need to learn if you will keep your eyes and ears open and be willing to be taught. Every adversity is usually a blessing in disguise. Every strike brings me closer to the next home run. Every wrong attempt discarded is another step forward. Everyone faces defeat. It may be a stepping stone or a stumbling block, depending on the mental attitude with which it is faced. Excuses are the nails used to build a house of failure. Failing does not make us failures, and the only time we do become a failure is when we decide to stop trying anymore. Failure is not failing unless you fail to get up. Failing to try means you're trying to fail. Failing consists not in failing to reach our goals, but rather in not setting one. Failure consists of not trying. Failure doesn't mean you're a failure, it just means you haven't succeeded yet. Failure is a great teacher if you're open to it. Failure is merely an indication that you've missed the amount of effort necessary. Failure is a trickster with a keen sense of irony and cunning. It takes great delight in tripping one up when success is almost within reach. Failure is an event, not a person, that yesterday really did end last night, and that today is my brand new day. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. Failure is experienced by those who, when they experience defeat, stop trying to find that something more. Failure is just another opportunity to more intelligently begin again. Failure is man's inability to reach his goals in life, whatever they may be. Failure is not a single cataclysmic event. We do not fail overnight. Failure is an inevitable result of an accumulation of poor thinking and poor choices. To put it more simply, failure is nothing more than a few errors in judgment repeated every day. Failure is only an attitude. You only become a failure when you pronounce that judgment on yourself. Failure is rarely the result of some isolated event. Rather, it is a consequence of a long list of accumulated little failures which happens as a result of too little discipline. Failure is simply feedback. It's not that you're bad or not good enough or incapable. Failure or feedback gives you the opportunity to look at what's not working and figure out how to make it work. Failure is simply someone else's opinion of how a certain act should have been completed. Failure is a condiment that gives success its flavor. Failure is the key to success. Each mistake teaches us something. Failure isn't final until you quit. Failure permits no alibis. Failure should be our teacher, not our undertaker. Failure is delay, not defeat. Failure is delay, not defeat. It is a temporary detour, not a dead end. Failure is something we can avoid by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. Failure will never overtake you if your determination to succeed is strong enough. Fall 7 times, stand up 8. Fear of failure is a conditional response learned in childhood. For every failure, there's an alternative course of action. You just have to find it. When you come to a roadblock, take a detour. Great successes are almost always preceded by many failures. I can accept failure, everyone fails at something, but I cannot accept not trying. I don't know what success is, but I know what failure is. Failure is trying to please everybody. I've never known a successful man or woman whose success did not hinge on some failure or another. I honestly think it's better to be a failure at something you love than to be a success at something you hate. I've come to believe that all my past failure and frustrations were actually laying the fountain for the understandings that I now enjoy. If you are not willing to fail, you will forever be bound in circumstances that involves little risk. If you get up one more time than you fall, you will make it through. If you set your goals ridiculously high and it's a failure, you will fail above everyone else's successes. In order to succeed, you must fail, so that you know what not to do the next time. Inability to cooperate stood at the head of the list of causes of failure. It also takes great effort to learn to love ourselves above all others, especially when we are so consciously aware of our failures, doubts, and tragedies. It does not, however, take effort to fail. It requires little else than a slowly deteriorating attitude about our present, our future, and about ourselves. It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default. It is the individual who is not interested in his fellow men who has the greatest difficulties in life and provides the greatest injury to others. It is from such individuals that all human failures spring. Lack of resources isn't the reason you failed. Its lack of resourcefulness is why you failed. Many of life's failures are people who do not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Mature, intelligent people realize that failure is just as a part of success as success is part of every failure. Most people fail in life because they major in minor things. Most people fail in life because they major in minor things. Much of the difference between failure and success lies in what you believe you are entitled to, so you may as well think big. My best successes came on the heels of failures. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. Never let success get to your head, and never let failure get to your heart. 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. Nothing fails like success because you do not learn anything from it. The only thing we ever learn from is failure. Success only confirms our superstitions. One can go on committing a certain error only if one remains unconscious of it. One's best success comes after their greatest disappointments. Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. Our so-called failures serve us well when they teach us valuable lessons. Often they're better teachers than our successes. People fail in their lives because their focus is on another's wealth rather than their own goals. People usually fail when they are on the verge of success, so give as much care at the end as at the beginning. Then there will be no failure. So what is failure? Failure does not come to a person because he is not recognized by the multitudes during his lifetime or ever. Our success or failure has nothing to do with the opinion of others. It has only to do with our own opinion of ourselves and what we're doing. Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. The danger comes when we look at a day squandered and conclude that no harm has been done. After all, it was just one day. But add up those days to make a year, and then add up those years to make a lifetime, and perhaps you can now see how repeating today's small failures can easily turn your life into a major disaster. The difference between a successful man and a failure is not one's better abilities or ideas, but the courage that one has to bet on his ideas, to take a calculated risk, and to act. The line between failure and success is so fine that we scarcely know when we pass it, so fine that we are often on the line and do not know it. The men who try to do something and fail are indefinitely better than those who try nothing and succeed. The only real failure in life is not to be true to the best one knows. The person who never made a mistake never tried anything new. The season of failure is the best time for sowing the seeds of success. Thoughts are things. They have tremendous power. Thoughts of doubt and fear are pathways to failure. When you conquer negative attitudes of doubt and fear, you conquer failure. We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. We must remind ourselves that we will fail 100% of the time we don't try. We need to run the risk of going too far in order to discover how far we really can go. What would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? Why is it when we read about the greatest achievements of successful men in sports or business, we are seldom told about their failures? For example, we now read of the amazing record of the immortal Babe Ruth with 714 home runs, but another unapproached world record of his is carefully buried in the records, never to be mentioned, striking no more times than any other people in the history. He failed 1,330 times. 1,330 times. He suffered the humiliation of walking back to the bench amidst jeers and ridicule. But he never allowed fear of failure to slow him down or weaken his effort. When he struck out, he didn't count that failure. That was effort. Would you like me to give you a formula for success? It's quite simple. Really, double your rate of failure. You're thinking of failure as the enemy of success, but it isn't at all. You can be discouraged by failure or you can learn from it. So go ahead and make mistakes. Make all you can, because remember, that's where you'll find success, on the far side. You always pass failure on the way to success. You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance at doing what you love. You never lose. You either win or you learn. And last, you want to know the difference between a master and a beginner? The master has failed more time than the beginners have ever tried. And that's a wrap on 50 Words to Your Dreams, Chapter 37, Failure. Let me know your thoughts on Chapter 37. If you need some accountability in your life, connect with me for a free coaching session at coaching@bestbookbits.com. For hundreds of video, written, and audio book summaries, check out our website, bestbookbits.com. Stay tuned for Chapter 38 in the series, Fear. Thanks for watching and listening. Hope you got something out of this. Go out there and fail your way to success. Take care. Bye-bye now.